Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Cavletics, an inside look into the athletics department here at Bossier Parish Community College. I'm your host, Charlie Cavell, and today we are talking about BPCC Cavaliers softball. After a record-setting 2018 season, expectations for Coach Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton and the Lady Cavaliers are once again very, very high. And so far, they've met those expectations as BPCC is off to a 5-0 start to the 2019 season. With that being said, let's welcome in today's guest and the head coach of the Lady Cavaliers, Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton. And Coach, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you for having me, Charlie.
Well, before we get into discussing this year's team, let's refresh everyone's memory and talk about how special the 2018 team was. You had back-to-back 40-plus win seasons, including a school record 44 wins last season, a share of the Region 14 regular season title, and you won your 100th game as a head coach. And on top of all of that, you had 2 players selected to All-American teams. When you look back on 2018, it was a really special season, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very special. The group that we graduated last spring was our first recruiting class here at BPCC, and so watching them develop and mature and grow and kind of set the foundation where we're at today was very, very special. They definitely hold a special place in our hearts forever.
Well, last year you had a core group of 8 sophomores that were crucial to the success of the program that you mentioned, and that it's enjoyed the success that y'all have enjoyed the last 2 seasons. Did that, and you touched on it basically, did that group lay that groundwork and that foundation for this program, your program now, to build upon?
Absolutely, they did. I think from a winning perspective, they did very much so. I think that the foundation was set in year 1 as far as our culture, so we definitely have to recognize, although our record wasn't there, those girls, but the group that we graduated last year was the winningest sophomore group in program history, so I think that says a lot about them.
You had Chelsea Fagan, who was a first-team All-American and who led the NJCAA Division I in home runs last season, and Elisa Favela, who, arguably, is the greatest all-around player in Lady Cavalier softball history. But they're gone now. How do you replace players like that?
I think leaving last spring, that was something that I stressed about a lot and worried about. And then I realized that you don't replace kids like Chelsea and Issa. You just are appreciative of the opportunity to have them come through your program and set the foundation that they did. And so I think it's just continuing to recruit great student athletes and teaching them how to play BPCC softball and continuing to build our culture. And I think that we will continue to be successful.
I know you don't replace players like Chelsea and Issa, but does their success and the team's success grab the attention of higher caliber players around the country that might not normally look at a Bossier Parish Community College?
Yes, very much so. I think that great athletes want to compete at a high level and they want to be part of great programs. And so what we were able to accomplish with Chelsea and Issa's group absolutely allows us to put a little more merit into having those kids come here. I think it's also the culture that we've built. A lot of the girls, 99% of the athletes that we bring in have been on our campus, have met our team, have experienced that. So I think that's a big selling point for those girls as well.
Well, you've always talked about culture as being one of your big, your big issues and your big deal. And
yes.
You've done a really great job of I don't want to say changing the culture, because the culture was there. It was just, it needed to be sparked up a bit.
Yes.
I believe my math is correct in that 6 of the 8 sophomores from last year's team are now playing at 4-year universities. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We're actually at 100% placement rate. Every sophomore since I've gotten here has had an offer to go on to play. 6 of the 8 from last year, although all 8 had offers, chose to play. So we're very, very excited about that. That's a big part of what we try to do, is bring kids in and then help them move on to the next level. So Chelsea, Issa, and Sharika are now at SAU. Morgan Bullock is starting at Texas A&M Texarkana. Tyler and Jay are at Grambling State. So us moving kids on, it's all about the right fit for them, and I think we do a good job of helping them find that fit.
Well, and how does it help the program to build that relationship with those four-year universities?
Oh, it's huge. It's very, very integral. And I tell the kids leaving here that although they may not still wear BPC on their chest, that they still represent us and that they are opening doors for future Lady Cavaliers. So we tie all of it into it. It's part of our culture, moving on to represent BPC still at wherever they're at.
Successful coaches usually surround themselves with great people, and you're no different. Tell us how much Coach Kurt Williams, your assistant, has meant to your program.
I would have to say that Kurt is kind of our secret ingredient to the program. I handed over recruiting to him in year 2, and so he is really the main reason why we have a lot of the kids that we have from all across the country. I gave him that, gave him reins on that, gave him permission to go out and find the best kids that we can find. He works a full-time job, and then he's also my full-time assistant, and so I'm just very, very thankful for him. He does a lot behind the scenes for our program.
And he finds the best taco
places
in the world.
Yes, he is the taco connoisseur for sure.
We're going to take a brief time out right now, but stay tuned, because following the break, we'll have more with BPCC head softball coach Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone. It comes in all shapes, sizes, different colors, forms.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet, it's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
I ended up in the hospital for some 2 weeks.
My biggest fear for myself is losing my vision.
My biggest fear of T1D today, this disease, will probably be what kills me.
It's not always predictable.
It's constant worry to be in charge of my daughter's health. I go in multiple times to make sure she's still breathing and that her heartbeat is still there.
It just never gives you a second off, really.
It is hard, but with friends, family pushing me every day to be strong, that's what helps me get along.
I do have a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It's not easy to explain. It's not easy to just take out my meter and check my sugar in front of everyone. And
I think my biggest accomplishment is probably getting used to all the shots and finger sticks.
I prick my finger a lot. I prick my finger every time I check my blood, and that's over 8-10 times a day.
And it's an everyday thing that we have to do to live in the world and survive.
It is so frustrating that there are so many misconceptions about T1D, and people think that it's not a constant struggle, but it is.
My biggest dream definitely is to find a cure.
My dream for T1D is to have no diabetes when I go to college.
There will be a cure for this. I don't know that I believed that when I was first diagnosed, and I think we're close. We just need to keep that momentum going.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help JDRF find a cure.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
T1D looks like me.
Welcome back to Cavletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, and we're visiting with BPCC head softball coach Amanda Nordberg-Hamilton. Well, let's dive right into the 2019 season, which is already underway. You lost basically 7 of your 8 position players. Only Stacy Landry, Ryan DiBasilio started for most of the year and played a lot. And then Dory Cormier started in center field at the end of the season and was phenomenal, just had a fantastic finish to 2018. But other than that, you're having to replace the bulk of your team.
Yes, very much so. That really worried me going into the fall, and we definitely went through the freshman freakout, is what I call it, throughout the fall season. But I think that with that, we've been able to kind of find our own identity. Losing the group that we lost last year and graduating them, it is a little bit daunting at first, but we've really dug into finding Team 23 is, kind of our mantra this year, and finding who we are as a team. With those returners and with so many new kids. So I'm very excited about what this new group can accomplish this year.
I know you and Kurt brought in a lot of players in the fall, eventually whittling down your roster to the 23 players that you have now. Was it a situation where you felt you had to bring in that many players because of the losses, or was that was just kind of the way things may have played out?
Honestly, Charlie, it was just kind of how things played out. Every year that I've been here, we've lost 4 or 5 kids over the summer for various reasons, and so we always over-recruit just a little bit. You have kids that don't return that you expect to return. But this year, this year everyone came back. Everyone came back and everyone came in, which I think is a testament to where our program is. People want to be a part of that, and so kids that I thought may choose to go a different direction wanted to spend their second year with us. And so that was really kind of a blessing as to what our program is about. And I think that the fall is all about trying to figure out who's here for the right reasons and who's going to help us continue to compete on a national level. And I think we've found that core. So looking forward to see what they can do.
I know you don't replace a pitcher player like Issa Favela, but you do return Kat Roth to the circle, who won 14 games for you last year, and as well as Jenna James, who you used primarily as a reliever last season. That has to be a boost to your pitching staff, knowing that you have those ladies returning.
Absolutely. It was actually a little bit by design. I knew what we were losing in losing Issa after her sophomore year, and so we took the growing pains of allowing those freshmen to get experience last year behind her. We probably could have even thrown her more than we did, but we wanted to. I'm really all about the staff when it comes to our pitchers. So by design, knowing that we'd have so many freshmen coming in, potentially competing to start on the field, we made sure that those girls returning, and Dory, Jenna, and Kat, have experience.
Right. So. I mentioned Dory starting in center field, but Dory, for the first part of the year, was in the circle in pitching, and Dory has a heck of a lot of velocity on her pitches.
She does.
As a freshman, she struggled a little bit with control. But tell us about a couple of maybe some of the new players new pitchers that have stepped into that starting role.
Well, we have 3 freshman pitchers. In our first 5 outings, Leanne Franks has done a really good job. She's actually kind of moved really seamlessly into our position of being a relief pitcher. So she's that kid that you can put it in, bases loaded, no outs, and she loves the pressure. So it's been really nice to see her kind of step up in that role. And then everybody else around her embrace that, and that she's doing that. When you have a sophomore pitcher that is congratulating a freshman pitcher for coming in and taking their spot and getting the job done, that's when I think that your culture's in a good place. So.
Your team is 5-0 on the young season, having won 3 games in the season opening tournament way down there in Beeville, Texas. And then you turned around and went, well, maybe not as far down, but you turned around and went to Port Arthur to take on the Lamar State College Seahawks, and you swept a doubleheader from them. Give me your assessment of your team's start through its first 5 games.
Well, we like to travel a lot preseason. I like to learn as a team how to get off the bus and compete, because we have to do that when we get into conference. I'm excited to see where we're at. I think that 5 games in doesn't say a whole lot. The season is long, but I think what I've seen out of this group in the start of our season is how selfless we are, how bought in we are to the process and to having plans, and to understanding the concept of getting a deep fly ball backside hit to run, to score a runner. So the selflessness in this group is really, really special. The energy is really special. So I'm very excited to see what the future holds for us.
Tell me about some of your newcomers that have had an impact. And I mean, if you want to, Amanda, you could go, we can go around position-wise, because like I said, you're really having to replace 7 of your 8 position players. and really even now 8. Stacy had a preseason injury, so she's kind of been just now working her way back in. But tell us about some of your newcomers.
Right now it's tough. I've got kids that are very capable, very talented that aren't starting. They are potentially going to be in a DH role. So we've got 4 first basemen that are all freshmen working in that position. Abby Cole is a transfer from Butler Community College. She's been a huge impact player for us, being a leader and a sophomore on a very young infield. Her and Ruby Butler work both middle positions, and then I've got all freshmen in the outfield. I've got experience in Emily Hardy returning and Dory, but I've also got 3 other freshmen that are getting some pretty good playing time. And then third base is deep, third and catcher are deep as well. So I'm confident in anybody that we can put out there. It's just, for me, the hardest part right now is finding the right pieces and the right people that play the best together.
Well, that's
so.
how you get paid all the big bucks.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I get to make those decisions. So.
How is this year's team so far different from last year's team, which relied so heavily upon its power, particularly coming from Chelsea as well as Issa and others, Morgan, Jalen? But how is this team different from last year's team?
I think it's night and day. We've had to completely revamp our hitting philosophy and our running philosophy. We're trying to do a lot more small ball. We're trying to steal bases. We're pushing on the bases. Just trying to create things because we don't have that 38 home run bat that with one swing can make it happen. But opening weekend we had 3 freshmen hit their first college career home runs plus a sophomore. So I think that we're going to have more power than is expected. We just don't look like it because we're so small. But just we're running a lot. We're running a lot, making plays, trying to play a little more small ball, not relying on the home run.
Well, and looking at the box scores, particularly from the doubleheader sweep of Lamar State, you may not have had the long ball, the home run, but boy, you sure had a lot of extra base hits.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the box score and it's 2 doubles, 2 doubles, 2 doubles, a triple, and a lot of extra base hits coming from up and down the lineup and not just the top 4 or 5.
Yes, very much so. The hardest part of my job right now is who to put in the 4-hole because I've got 8 kids that could potentially be there and be successful. So, which is great. That's what I worked hard to do is to have that problem. But I think that anybody could do a good job there. So we're excited about our lineup. And the cool part is I right now feel confidence pulling anybody off the bench to step in. So
I want to jump back for a second and ask you. You had talked about traveling a lot in this pre-conference season, if you will. Do you do that on purpose because you know the grind that is Region 14 and how every stop along the way and every doubleheader that you play in conference is just that. It's a grind.
Yes, very much so. I think that what I've figured out is that I've tried to balance a little bit more. So we do have a few preseason home games. In the past, it's all been away, which made us really, really good playing away, and then we had to learn to play at home. I think getting off the bus, being on the bus for 5 hours, getting off and playing a doubleheader away is the hardest thing to do as an athlete. So we do that early and often to prepare, and I think that we've had some success, so we've continued that.
It looks as though Kat Roth is picked up where she left off last year. She had 14 wins last year and was really, after Issa, was just instrumental in the success of last year's team. You could put her out in the circle and have her do what she does and the confidence in her to deliver, and she did. And that was really impressive, particularly as a freshman. What makes Kat so good and so effective?
I think it's that she wants the ball. She works to keep the ball low in the zone, and she spins the ball really, really well. She has a tight spin on all of her pitches, so it's really hard to barrel up. She's a competitor. She hates to lose. She hates to give up hits. And I think that she's did a great job, had a great freshman year, but she's just developed even more this year and has just kind of come into her own and kind of figured out who she is as a pitcher and kind of her identity. And she's running with that. And with that, our defense is stepping up and playing really well behind her.
Well, we talked about Kat. We've talked about Jenna a little bit as a reliever, Dory somewhat. What new pitchers have stepped into, into the role of that you've expected for them to?
Absolutely. Leanne Franks, our freshman, is kind of stepping into our reliever role and done a great job. And then Jenna has actually stepped in and been a starter. So I think that she did a great job as a reliever and had a great preseason, doing really well live in practice. And so we gave her that opportunity. And she won against Lamar through all 5 innings. And she's just seamlessly made that transition. So I've always had the philosophy of having a staff and having a starter and a reliever, and then just being able to intertwine. So having that open line of communication within all of our pitchers. So I'm excited what our experience and then our new kids can accomplish coming in.
Well, one very unique situation that you have this year, which I'm pretty sure is a first for BPCC softball in the history of the program, is that you have an international student athlete playing for you in third baseman Uchenna Zhongloy, who is from the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how Uchenna got from Amsterdam to Bossier City.
Well, I will say that Kurt is very good at his job. I will say that.
He is that.
He is, yes. So we found her online. She had a great skills video, and she looked strong. Her size was good. And it's important to me in us to be able to, one, offer opportunities to international kids to be able to come into the States and play, and that's what she was looking for and wanting. And two, there's just really good talent across the world, so to be able to kind of tap into that. The first international kid you get, the first out-of-state kid, is always a little bit of a risk, but she has definitely stepped up and been through and through what we expected. So we're very excited to see what she can do.
So, I mean, I don't want to say a pioneer, but I mean, she is the first, and so
she is, yes.
But you know, it is a risk because you don't know what kind of quality competition, the level of competition that she's played over in Europe.
Yes.
And so I know that had to be a little bit, there's some trepidation there.
Yes, very much so. She actually played for the 18 under national team. She had played, come to Florida, played a couple times in the States. So I knew that she'd been here before. She kind of knew what she was getting into. And then for her area and her country had played at the highest level that she could compete at. So it was just helping her make that transition. Academics is always a concern with international kids. She's an AB student, handles her grades well, is a great teammate. So it's just really worked out. We're really, really lucky to have her here.
Softball is a bit different when it comes to scheduling. For example, you've already played and won 3 games against a Region 14 in Lamar State, Port Arthur. If you would, Amanda, explain how that is and why you can play a regular season game against a Region 14 team but not count as a conference game.
The way that our region is set up is we've got both sides, so we've got 2 sides of the conference. Part of playing Lamar at the Beeville tournament was just who was there. You know, we don't always have choices in the round robins that we sign up for. And then we typically just try to schedule the other side, 1, distance, and 2, competition. So the other side of the conference, although it's in our region, those are all still Division I conference games for us, or Division I games for us, which count towards our rankings. So we also host, the region hosts a crossover every year. So the design of that is to be able to play and compete against the other side. I really like that because I feel like it gives us a little insight as to who we'll be facing once we get to the regional tournament, which is the top 4 from our side, the top 4 from the other side.
Well, and yeah, because a prime example of that was last year. You ended up losing to Tyler, which is in our division, but Galveston, you know, they ended up being co-champions because of extra circumstances.
Right.
But Galveston, who is a team we rarely see, ended up being the co-champs in that tournament.
Very much so. So it just prepares us so we don't go in and really not know anything about the other side. So I like it. I like the crossover. I think it's a great event.
The undefeated Lady Cavaliers return to the action against the McLennan Community College Highlasses. at the BPCC softball field. The first pitch of the doubleheader is scheduled for 1 p.m. That coming up next Friday on February 15th. So be sure to come out and enjoy some Lady Cavaliers softball. Hopefully by that time the temperatures will have picked up a little bit. That's all we have for today. Amanda, thank you so much for visiting with us. We appreciate it and look forward to your great program. Good luck on the rest of the season.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you, folks, for watching Cavletics today. Join us again next Friday as we bring you the latest on Bossier Parish Community College Cavalier Athletics. I'm Charlie Cavell, bidding you a good sports day.